Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm so sorry about that. What
No
happened
problem.
was my call was muted, and I was talking to you, but apparently you couldn't hear me.
No, thank you. That's fine. That's fine.
So good evening to all your panelists. I'm saying a good evening to you all, and I'm really happy to join your program. So basically, if I get you right, your question was, let me talk on the letter from that emanated from the lawyers of Amie Bensouda,
Yes.
which is the cease and desist letter. Now, like you mentioned, we did an analysis on that letter because on the face of the letter, you would realize that Amie Bensouda was very direct. You know, her lawyers were very thorough with regards to what is it that they wanted from that cease and desist letter. So basically, a cease and desist letter is something that is under the pre-action protocol, meaning that's how it's not a legal document, but it is a document that would, if the matter goes to court, it's a document that the parties can rely on, because what it seeks to do is to show the court that going to court was a means of last resort, that you tried to settle this matter amicably and you did everything that you can to bring the other party's attention to what they're doing. And if they can correct it, then you wouldn't go to court and waste the court's time. So that is the purpose of the cease and desist letter, to bring to the other person the other person's information that whatever they're saying, you feel that it's defamatory, it is against your person, and it is lowering your character towards in the presence of rational thinking and reasonable thinking person. So when you look at Amie Bensouda's letter, she was specific. You know, she gave timelines as to how long that these disparaging comments have been ongoing. She mentioned that it's been like 7 years. She mentioned the different things that have been said, how they have been said, and some of the things that have been said by Kurang. Now, what is interesting in that letter is what Amie Bensouda sought to do was to get Kurang, one, she said she wanted Kurang to retract her statement, or retract the statements that he has made against Amie Bensouda. That is to actually, you know, either delete them or do whatever it is. Secondly, she wanted an apology. And thirdly, she wanted Kurang to desist, which means to stop whatever it is that she was doing. And then she said, or the letter said, that if Kurang does not accept these conditions, then she would institute a legal action against Kurang, and she will ask for up to 144 million in damages. So her letter was quite explicit. But the most important thing to look into that letter is the response that came from Kurang. Yeah. So whilst Amie Bensouda made all these claims as to what Kurang has done and said, she was very specific. She hit the heart of the things that she believed Kurang said against her. Now, when you look at Amie Bensouda's letter, that is, if you have it, you would realize that under the heading, they have a heading which says public records. What this means is that these are things that are already in the public. These are records that are public. They are not confidential. And on the public records, the lawyers of Mrs. Bensouda then decided to state certain factual things that happened. So, for example, they said to Kurang that you were queried by the commission's chair. You did not retire receipts. You did not deposit funds at the central bank on time. You sold tractor to the jar oil guy without a reserve price. Now, when you look at the rebuttal of Kurang, when the chairman wrote to Kurang, you will realize certain things. Everything that Mrs. Bensouda said on the public record are things that happened. Was Kurang queried by the commission? Yes, it happened. Was Kurang queried for not retiring receipts? Yes, it happened. Was Kurang queried for giving 1,000 to staff without the authority of the commissioners? Yes, it happened. Did Kurang try to sell without a reserve price? Yes, it happened. Now, these are things that happen in the commission. So what Mrs. Bensouda did in that letter, or what her lawyers did, was to cleverly couch those things and put it on the public record. So it will be very difficult to now come back and say those things are defamatory, because it is not Mrs. Bensouda who said those things. Okay. What Mrs. Bensouda had done in that letter is to reiterate what is already in the public records, what is in the Jammeh Commission records, things that are factual happening. Now, if you go into defamation, we need to understand what is defamation. Okay. There are 4 ingredients. Am I going too fast?
No, just go on.
Yeah, okay. So there are 4 ingredients that you have to fulfill to prove defamation in a court of law. The first thing that you have to do is that a statement has to be made which is false. The statement has to be false because the complete defense for defamation is the truth. So if I go and I say Dudu Ja wears glasses, and Dudu Ja takes me to court to say that I defamed him, and I'm trying to say that he's got a bad eyesight, but then I can establish in court that indeed Dudu Ja wears glasses, that is a complete defense for defamation. It will never amount to defamation because it is a factual statement. Okay. The second thing the second ingredient is that if I go to Dudu Ja and I tell Dudu Ja, you wear glasses, and Dudu Ja is offended, it is not defamation. It is only when it goes to the third party. The defamatory statement must be communicated to someone other than the person. So whether it is said in a public setting, whether it is shared by a text, by an email, or it is said in a Facebook Live or whatever, it has to go to the hearing of a third party. The third ingredient is that the statement that is made, it has to be attributable to the person that is claiming defamation. So for example, when you read Kurang'S statements or writings, Kurang would always say, go and ask Mrs. Bensouda. Go and do this. Amie Bensouda should be called. So people know that she is referring to Amie Bensouda. And times when she wouldn't call Amie Bensouda's name, she would say the lead counsel. So those are the things you have to prove. Okay. And then finally, the fourth one is that there is damage done to your character. You have to be able to quantify, to say that, yes, what this person has said, it has lowered my integrity. It has lowered my character in the eyes of reasonable people. So when you look at Amie Bensouda's letter, it attacked, the contents attacked what Kurang has been doing, or what Mrs. Bensouda is alleging that Kurang has been doing to her. And she is saying these statements and these pronouncements of Kurang's actions are defamatory. So that is what Mrs. Bensouda stated in her letter. Okay. So I don't know if there's any questions you want to ask me again with regards to that letter.
Of course, yes. Bala ñuy dem si panelist yi dinañ la laajat question bi mooy wax nga lu jëm ci wàllu lan mooy yàqateer maanaam ci yan anam lañ mën a diffamer nit yooyu indi nga ci leeral ba tamit yaa ngi dugg nga ba ci letter ki nga xam ne mooy response bi kii def how to call it Kurang ci lu jëm ci loolu léegi dafa am question boo xam ne tamit yenn Gambien si ñi nga xam ne seen xel màccut ci yoon ku ci mel ni man wala samay morom ñoom lu ñuy laaj mooy lu xew ni yëpp ñu bari dañuy wax ne Amie Bensouda jamono bi nga xam ne mi ngi liggéey Jammeh commission jamono boobu dafa nekkoon di liggéeyal réew mi ndax nguur gi ñoo ko jël ngir mu liggéey te boobaa kon dafa mel ni moom public servant la woon so ci jamono jooyu ñu wax ne ndax koo xam ne da nga doon liggéeyal réew mi ndax war ngaa bañ ñu tudd la wala ñu laaj la ci lu jëm ci loo xam ne lu mu doon liggéey la ñu bëri ñu jàpp ne comme moom ndax lu mel noonu mën na see yóbbu Kurang ci yoon wala keneen sax ku dul Kurang loolu ñu bëri tamit am nañ ci jiixi jaaxa ba ñu bëri am na ñoo xam ne ci loolu la ñuy jàppalee Mr Kurang yan leeral nga ci mën a indi yow ci.
Okay. The first thing we need to understand is that before one of the defenses or one of the main defenses to a case of defamation is one, truth. That is, whatever you have said is the truth. The other one was privileged communication. So, for example, if it's a lawyer and a client, things like that, privileged communications, or you could say official communications. But in 2018, I think 2018, not 19, 2018, when the ECOWAS court gave a ruling in the case of Justice Warwar and the state of Gambia, And in that case, the ECOWAS decriminalized. What they said is, because of free speech, you cannot criminalize defamation because it will hamper on free speech. But however, free speech is not absolute. Free speech has to be curtailed. So for example, if you are saying that Mrs. Bensouda is a public servant and Mrs. Bensouda has to subject herself to criticism. So for example, let me give you a classic example.
Okay.
So when Kurang mentioned something about the Korosise saga and said that the person to be asked and questioned is Mrs. Bensouda, how can anyone defend that under the public interest issue and draw a nexus with that and the commission? Secondly, if you look at Kurang's pronouncement, which I've always maintained that is my problem, Kurang has never ever attacked the credibility of the commission. Kurang would attack the personality of Amie Bensouda. But when you talk about public interest, there's also something you call, in the fundamental principles of public interest, an authority. Was Amie Bensouda authority in the commission? Was Amie Bensouda the highest authority in the commission? Can you substitute Amie Bensouda to mean the Jammeh Commission? The commission had commissioners who Amie Bensouda reported to. The commission had chairperson who Amie Bensouda reported to. So how is it possible, in the sense of public interest, to attribute every failure of the Jammeh Commission on one single individual?
Okay.
So the issue of public interest would not arise in that end, because it seems to be personal.
Okay.
Because if it is public interest, you collectively and holistically want to hold the Jammeh Commission accountable. Exactly. That would be a public interest subject. And then you could apportion individual blame to individual offices in the commission. But you cannot wholly, for 7 years, consecutively, attacking the credibility of just one individual in the commission, as if that person is the commission.
All right.